What a wonderful thing when God said to Moses, Moses, I want you to write me a book. It's an amazing thing that the Bible has stood the test of time. Men have rised up against it, and every single one of those men have fallen. And yet the Bible, till this very day, is still standing. This book is still in the homes of millions and millions of people across the world. This book has changed nations. This book has changed countries. Every country, every nation that has risen against this book has failed. This book is the reference point to our soul. It is the anchor to our life. This book, the Bible, is God's library. To the weary pilgrim, the Bible is a good, strong staff. To the one who sits in gloom, the Bible is a glorious light. To those who stoop beneath heavy burdens, the Bible is sweet rest. To him who has lost his way, the Bible is safe guide. To the discouraged, it whispers glad messages of hope. To those who are distressed by the storms of life, the Bible is an anchor. To those who suffer loneliness, the Bible reveals a God who sticks closer than a brother. And if you have come to know the God of this Bible, you will find it difficult to find the words to express worship and adoration to Him. But today I want to focus on one verse. When the prophet Isaiah saw into the spirit world. Isaiah 6 chapter 1. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. The prophet Isaiah was talking of what he saw. There are different verses of the Bible that talk about the appearance of God on his throne. I have read several of them, and I have not seen one of them that says the glory of God is not great, or just describes the glory of God as any old thing. The way God always appears is always something that is always compared to something great. John saw this same throne in the book of Revelation. Revelation 4 verse 3. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto emerald. Also in the Old Testament, God also appeared before the children of Israel in his glory. Exodus 24:17. And the sight of the glory of God was like a devouring fire on top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel. When God appeared to the children of Israel, his voice was like of a trumpet, and they could see thunder. This made them afraid, and they could not face God. Exodus chapter 20 verse 18 and 19 states, And all the people saw thunderings and lightning and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar. And they said unto Moses, Speak thou with us, and we will hear, but let not God speak with us, lest we die. Isaiah was able to see God on his throne and the angels that surrounded his throne. He saw everything about God. After reading Isaiah 6 verse 1 carefully, I realized that the first thing that caught the attention of Isaiah was the one who was sitting on the throne. After talking about the person who he saw on the throne, he went ahead to explain the other things that he saw. Isaiah chapter 6 verse 2. Above it stood the seraphim. Each one had 6 wings. With twine he covered his face. With twine he covered his feet. And with twine he did fly. Clearly there are other things around the throne. The Bible did not say everything was being shown to Isaiah one after the other. It wasn't a sequential showing. This means that everything came to him at once, at one time. What caught his eye was the throne and the one who was sitting on the throne. This means that this throne is very special. It is not something that you can just ignore. Everything else was secondary, except the one who was sitting on the throne. For all we know, the prophet Isaiah could have spent a lot of time admiring that throne and the one who was sitting on that throne. We can't say. A throne is a seat occupied by an exalted person. This means the person who sits on the throne has the power to make anything happen in their kingdom. If anyone must stand in the presence of the person sitting on the throne, they must stand with the uttermost respect and approach with respect. Anything that anyone who sits on the throne says is final, and no other power within that kingdom can go against it. Not everyone can sit on the throne. Only the person who has the authority in a place or a kingdom can sit on that throne. Only a ruler can sit on that throne. The throne that Isaiah saw is the throne of the whole universe. Everything in this universe, in this world, revolves around the throne of God. That's why his eyes were firstly drawn not to the angels, not to everything else, but his eyes were drawn to the one sitting on the throne. Secondly, Isaiah saw him high and lifted up. If we are going to talk about the greatness of God, it's something that we can study for 10,000 years and still we won't reach the end of it. When we say God is great, it's not just a small phrase or an ordinary phrase. It's a big phrase. There is nothing we can compare to the greatness of God. He is highly exalted. He rules in the affairs of men. He knows everything. We talked about how the throne of God is great. What makes the throne of God great is the one who sits on the throne, and that is God Almighty. And we see the name God Almighty in the Bible. And you know what that tells me? That tells me there is no one higher than him. That tells me there is no one greater than him. That tells me he's almighty, all-knowing God. 1 Chronicles 29 verse 11. Thine, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the victory and the majesty. For all that is in the heaven and the earth is thine. Thine is the kingdom, O Lord, and thou art exalted as head above all. The greatness of God surpasses the universe. If men cannot understand the whole mystery of the universe, what makes them think they can understand the God that made it? The one who sets everything in motion from the beginning of time. Everything that moves is because of him. Lightning flashes at his command. Rainfall comes and goes at his decree. He is completely in control at all times. The CEO of the universe. He is large and in charge. The King of all kings. The Lord of all lords. The ruler and the creator. Truly, God is great. But God is not only great because of what he does in this universe and because of who he is. God is great because of what he does in your life. In your life. We are the children of God, and we get to enjoy the greatness of God on a daily basis. He is showing his greatness in our lives every single day, even if sometimes we don't see it. We sleep and wake up every day, and that is because of the greatness of God. To be able to go out of the house and to get back alive in this dangerous world is evidence of the greatness of God. God is sustaining you in a year like this. That is the greatness of God in your life. The challenges you have faced and the challenges you have overcome is evidence of the greatness of God in your life. The battles you have fought and the victories you have won is evidence of the greatness of God in your life. There are battles you have faced that you had no right to overcome. By all rights you should have been dead. But the greatness of God helped you to get the victory. The greatness of God is the reason why that crash didn't kill you. The greatness of God is the reason why you're still standing today. The greatness of God is the reason why you are more than a conqueror. Friends have left you, family have left you, yet you're still standing. I I believe that all of us today can all agree that only God is great. And you know the wonderful thing is, even the angels agree with this. Even the angels bow down in worship at the greatness of God. Only God is great.
But the truth is, everyone will bow now or in the future. Romans 14 verse 11, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to God. The angels are in heaven now, bowing before God because of His greatness. They are constantly bowing and praising Him. He is such a great God. E.V. Hill once said that the angels spend their day bowing before God and saying, "Holy." They do this because once they lift up their heads and look at Him, He has done another great thing. Therefore they bow down and say, "Holy." Our God is great. The angels in heaven know how great God is. But do you? We should learn from the angels and acknowledge the greatness of our God, because only God is great.